Hi, and welcome back to Plating It with Wendy, where I share with you recipes which impress with ease. Today let's make an incredible spring meal just in time for Easter. This citrus and herb glazed leg of lamb is packed with flavor and pairs perfectly with some oven roasted veggies. So now let's get started. A very important first step when preparing a leg of lamb is to make sure you take it out of the refrigerator and let it rest for at least 1 hour so that it comes to room temperature before preparing it. Now let's score the leg of lamb. I'm going to score it diagonally. I'm cutting at least about 1 centimeter deep. This is going to help the flavor to really get into the meat. And we're going to score it on both sides. Let's season this with some salt and pepper. Make sure that the salt is going into all the little cuts that you've made so that the meat gets well seasoned. I'm going to flip it over and repeat. Just going to give it a nice pattern so it goes into the meat. And now I'm going to sear this. To sear the leg of lamb, I've heated a stainless steel skillet. I'm just going to add a little bit of olive oil into it. And I'm going to place it where the fat side down. That's the sound you want to hear. We're going to let it sear till it turns a nice brown, because the more color that we get on it, the more flavor that we are getting locked into the meat. Just going to turn this over now and sear it on the other side. Once you've finished searing the leg of lamb, don't wash your pan, keep it aside because we're going to deglaze it to make the glaze for the leg of lamb. While the oven is preheating at 425 degrees Fahrenheit, I'm going to prepare the baking pan for the leg of lamb. For that, I'm going to be cutting 1 onion. I'm just going to cut it in big bits. This is a really huge onion, so I'm just using 1. If you want, you could use 2 medium onions too. Just going to throw it at the bottom of the tray. And I'm going to be using 1 whole head of garlic for this. I'm going to leave the skin on, just give it a smash down and add it to the tray. I'm just going to add some rosemary to the bottom. This is going to give a lot of flavor to the leg of lamb, and some thyme. All this is going to infuse into the leg of lamb a lot of flavor, which is going to keep the leg of lamb nice and juicy. Now let's season the leg of lamb before we put it into the oven. For that, I'm going to be using about 1/2 cup of olive oil, and I've chopped some rosemary. I'm going to add about 1.5 tablespoons of rosemary to that, and about 1 tablespoon of thyme, and about 1 tablespoon of finely chopped garlic. Garlic is very important for seasoning the lamb. You want to really get that flavor in. And we're going to use the zest of 1 lemon. The citrus flavor is going to give us that nice spring feel. We're going to add the zest of 1 orange. We're going to use the juice of the orange later for making the glaze. Now we're going to give this a good mix. Now we're going to take this and rub it onto the leg of lamb and make sure that it goes right into all the cuts that we made. I'm just going straight with my fingers here because that's the best way to make sure that I get it into all the cuts. I'm going to do it on the other side too. All these fresh herbs and the citrus flavors is going to be such a breath of spring to it. I'm going to place this into the baking tray on top of the onions because you want the onions underneath so that the juices help to keep it nice and succulent. I'm just going to drizzle a little more salt on top of it. Now let's pop this into the oven. I'm going to lower the temperature to 300 degrees Fahrenheit. In that way, it'll form a nice crust on the outside and cook at a low temperature so that the juices and the meat remains nice and tender inside. I'm also going to cook it till the internal temperature is 135 degrees Fahrenheit, which is a medium well. If you want, you could cook it more or less depending upon the doneness that you like your leg of lamb to be done to. While the lamb is getting ready in the oven, we're going to prepare the glaze. I'm using the same pan that I seared the lamb in, and I'm going to add 1 cup of red wine, 1/2 cup of orange marmalade, 1 teaspoon of Dijon mustard, the juice of 1 orange, the same orange that we had zested, and I'm going to use it for the juice. Let's give this a good mix and let it cook till it reduces. We're going to use part of this to baste the leg of lamb while it's cooking in the oven, and we're going to keep some to glaze it after it has cooked. Now that it has thickened, I'm going to take it off the heat and use some of it, as I said, to baste the leg of lamb. And as it cools, it's going to thicken even more. So we're just going to check by putting the thermometer into the thickest portion and make sure that it has reached the 135 that we want. We're going to cover this up now with a foil and then with a kitchen towel and leave it aside to rest for at least half an hour because it'll still be cooking a little bit inside. Now that the leg of lamb is resting, let's prepare our veggies. We're going to be preparing garlic roasted potatoes. I'm using baby potatoes and I'm cutting them into halves. I put the oven to preheat at 400 degrees Fahrenheit while I am getting this ready. Now let's season this with some salt, some pepper, some lemon zest, and some olive oil. And I've chopped about 3 cloves of garlic and I'm going to just toss it on the top. Now let's give this a mix so that all the ingredients get well coated on the potatoes. Now let's prepare our Brussels sprouts with toasted hazelnuts and bacon. I've already toasted half a cup of hazelnuts and I've chopped them into half. We're going to be using this right at the end. You want to choose small Brussels sprouts and then you're going to have to cut it at the bottom and take out these loose leaves. And then you're going to cut them into half. To that I'm going to be adding 1 finely chopped shallot. Just going to toss it in along with the Brussels sprouts. Put some garlic on it too, about 2 or 3 cloves. I'm going to season it with a little salt. I'm not adding too much of salt because we're going to be putting bacon in it too. Some pepper, some lemon zest. It's going to give it a nice fresh flavor to it. And about 1/4 cup of finely chopped bacon which I had fried earlier. I'm going to drizzle this with some olive oil. Let's give it a good toss and now we're going to place the potatoes and the Brussels sprouts into the oven and allow it to bake for about 35 minutes. Now that we've taken the Brussels sprouts out of the oven, we're going to toss in the hazelnuts. Just give it a light mix. And we're going to garnish the potatoes with some freshly cut parsley. Let's prepare our honey glazed carrots. For that I'm using 1 tablespoon of unsalted butter. Just going to let it melt down. And to that I'm adding the carrots. Just going to saute them a little bit. And we're going to season them with some salt, some pepper, and a little lemon. These should take about 5 to 6 minutes to get ready. Once they're almost cooked, we're going to glaze them with some honey. And I'm just going to add some honey to that, about 1 tablespoon of honey. Now it's time to cut into and taste this juicy leg of lamb. Wow. See that? It's cooked to perfection. Just going to take this one bit. I'm going to drizzle some more glaze on top of it. The meat is so tender and it's really seasoned to perfection. If you're new to my channel or haven't subscribed already, subscribe and hit on the bell icon to get a notification every Friday when I upload new videos. If you enjoy watching my videos, don't forget to give me a big thumbs up and leave me your comments below. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram. The information is in the description below. Thanks for watching. See you soon.